All right, here we are, F1 Round 6 Spanish Grand Prix. We're seeing that this year, Red Bull is having the advantage on tracks with longer straightaways at a higher top speed. We're seeing Ferrari have better cars in more technical tracks and more actual street circuits, in tracks that, are really detail oriented. I want to show you this really quick, and this is mainly what I'm basing it off of, and this is a great example of this week. And so we're looking at the fastest lap in the third practice session between Verstappen and Leclerc, and this is what pushed me to Leclerc last week, or not last week, but the last race, is that I trusted that Leclerc would be able to maintain the speeds during the actual tighter section of the track, which yet again we're seeing here. We're seeing that Leclerc has the advantage coming out of the corners of the road course sections, and we're seeing Red Bull carry the speed down the straightaways. We're actually seeing that Mercedes is actually able to, I know this is just comparing Verstappen and Leclerc, but we're seeing Mercedes be able to carry more top speed at the end of the straightaways. They're just still slower in general. I think that's something we can look at moving into the season. Maybe not next week not at Monaco, because Monaco for me is just leaning Leclerc, but this long straightaway is very concerning for me, and it's why I'm hesitant to play Leclerc this week. And I did the same thing in the last F1 race. I just didn't believe that Verstappen would have the speed, or not that he would have the speed, but I figured Leclerc would be able to overcome the speed differential on the straightaways in the tight sections of the corners, and that just wasn't able to happen. And so for this week, I'm leaning towards Verstappen. I'm leaning towards him carrying the speed, being able to stay ahead of Leclerc, pull ahead of Leclerc, despite the fact that we are seeing identical times. I mean, this is less than a tenth separating both these cars here. But man, I just can't believe Verstappen was able to pull away at Miami, and going from Miami to the track here is I'm wanting to lean Verstappen this week. That's just where I'm at. I'm probably going to do 4 lines. I'll probably do 1 with Leclerc and 3 with Verstappen. I think this is going to be a very interesting one to build lineups for. When we start actually looking at drivers that are viable, and I apologize that I'm just here in the dark, when we're looking at drivers that are viable this weekend, Lando Norris had his qualifying time not disallowed, but he wasn't able to basically run in the top 10 because he cut the track, and they didn't allow his time in the second session of qualifying. And so Lando Norris is starting 11th. I think he would have had a top 10 car. I think it's very close between him and Daniel Ricciardo for the bonus for these guys. I'm leaning towards Lando Norris for McLaren. If you don't agree with Lando Norris, you can very easily get to Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, he's cheaper. He's starting 9th. I'm just leaning towards Norris having the ability to pass Daniel Ricciardo here. And for me, I really like the idea of building the line with Verstappen as your captain, and then going to Lando Norris as your secondary play. And clearly, I do want to play Red Bull. And that's another concern here. This is a very interesting week to where the fast laps and laps led, I think, are going to be going to Verstappen. I'm concerned Leclerc does get the fastest lap in this race. Max Verstappen did also lose power at the end of qualifying, and so he wasn't able to take the top position away from Leclerc. There's a good chance that if he doesn't lose power and they don't run into that issue, which is going to be fixed by tomorrow, but there's a chance that if he doesn't run into that issue, Verstappen ends up qualifying first, starting first tomorrow, and that's why I'm leaning Verstappen, man. I like the idea of just building Verstappen lines this weekend and using Lando Norris to get different, because he is expensive. It leaves you kind of in a bubble of $4,200 at that point of where do you go. And then clearly, we understand where we're going. At least DraftKings is realizing that, hey, we need to slowly start pricing up Albon, because everybody's still playing him. Albon is guaranteed the 5 positions over Latifi. We know Latifi's going to finish last, or the slowest car on the track. Obviously, if people wreck, Latifi is going to pass those guys, but Latifi is not going to get the 5 bonus points from his excuse me, his teammates. Clearly, Vettel at 3,400 is probably the value play most people are going to go with, and it's going to be a combination of him and Albon to get up to whoever you want, whether you want to end up going to Magnussen or you want to end up, or you do want to end up building different lines. Like I said, I like the idea of going Verstappen, Norris, and Red Bull in the constructor, and building a line that lends you, with that build. Not going Norris opens the lineup open to really getting in the 7K range. And if I'm going that way, then I think clearly you do need to play Ricardo. I think Ricardo or Norris is going to be optimal. That's just where I'm at right now. Like I said, I lean Norris just because I think he's going to be hard to get to, and I think most people are going to end up going to Ricardo. I'm perfectly fine with Kevin Magnussen. I think Magnussen gets the 5 points over Schumacher in this event, and that's really where we're at. That's really the main takeaways for Spain. I like Verstappen to win. I understand that Leclerc is running slightly faster times, but this was really the same mentality. This is the opposite mentality I had at Miami, to where I thought Leclerc would be able to pass Verstappen, get by him, use the DRS to get by in the or at least use DRS to make up for the shortcomings in the top speed. But I like Verstappen here, man. I really do. I think that's where I'm going to go for the captain, and that's really what I want to build the lineups off of. So thank you for joining me real quick. Projections are up on Patreon. Clearly, the sheet is updated on the Google Drive if you're a part of that. And I think Pearce has Ricardo over Norris. I know he was just finishing that as I'm recording this. But you can go in there, look at the practice data, look at the lap-by-lap data, or just look up and compare the lap times to see where those guys are making advantage on each other. But anyway, thank you for listening. I know it's a late video. Hopefully some of you guys can catch this before you go to sleep. And yeah, we'll see you later. Thank you very much for watching.